Right. Hello, everybody out in virtual land. My name's Jac. I'm here with my excellent friend Daniel. We're with Lions Roar Dharma Center in Sacramento. And we're doing our weekly, except this time bi-weekly, um, podcast show here, Talk Openly. It's wonderful to be here tonight. I do feel like I'm like just landing. Um, I'm a little bit chaotic tonight, just in my internal energy, but
Good, good. We can work
yeah,
with that. I like it.
we can work with that. Yeah, especially
Yeah.
we're going to be doing a part two of our last conversation, managing stress in times of change, but I think also just every day. I really need the managing of the everyday stress. So yeah, we're gonna keep that one going. I think it's the perennial topic.
I know everybody would say this. I mean, even 1,000 years ago, people would have said, especially nowadays,
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
especially nowadays.
I think about that a lot. Yeah. I mean, I do genuinely feel especially nowadays, but I also know that yeah, everyone's felt that.
Right, right. Like when you're like you think about like the despots and dictators and the powerful people who are,
Yeah.
preying upon those who are weaker, so on and so forth. Well,
Yeah.
those powerful dictatorial kings were in power during the Buddha's time too,
Totally. Yeah.
right? He still taught, he still tried,
Right.
he still attempted to teach them even, so we
For
could do this.
sure.
We
We
got it.
can do this. Yeah. Oh, Daniel, maybe before we get started, let's check in. How are you doing?
Well, I would say that I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I just said we can do this, and yet I have actually felt um, somewhat, I would say, somewhat discouraged. But it has nothing to do. It's not the fault of the practice; it's the fault of the practitioner.
Yeah.
Um, I was gone for the last, oh my goodness, like 4 or 5 days. I was up in Fort Bragg with friends, and we were out foraging wild mushrooms in the forest
Oh.
stuff. And so it was precious, and it was like really, really wonderful and healthy and happy and all kinds of goodness.
Mm.
Um, and at the same time, even though I could, yeah, I could watch my mind or whatever, I definitely was like, well, I'm on break. And
Mhm.
taking a break from practice um, is kind of, for me in particular, I feel like it's a bad idea, right?
Mm.
Like when I go away, it happens every time I go away, literally, like every single time that I'll be at home and everything, like when there's normal routine, everything's fine, and I'm like, and I can do my practice and I can read, I can study, I can do all the things, but take me out of that environment and I'm like, it's almost like I view Dharma practice as a job, right?
Yeah.
And that it's a thing that I have to, it's a responsibility, it's a commitment, right? Which is true.
Hmm.
It's not a job, but it is a commitment. It is a responsibility, right? It's just that, like, to whom am I responsible, right? And how
Yeah.
did this commitment come about, right? Like, it's a little bit different than the sort of normal external responsibilities. But somehow I make the mistake of lumping it all together. And I
Yeah.
say, my mind says, I'm on break. Like, I'm just being me. I'm just gonna be free and I'm just gonna do my thing and it's all good. And to a large extent, that's actually true,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
Like my practice can kind of like there's momentum and it can kind of like carry me through. But here's the problem is that there was momentum and then I used the momentum, right? And
Mm.
then it's like slowed down,
Yeah.
right? And now I'm like, oh, oh gosh, my home practice, I better get on it, right? I better,
Yep.
because it's like it was my home practice that developed that momentum, and then I lost it, so I have to redevelop it. And if it was just consistent, it'd be so much easier, right? Like if I'm like riding a bike or something, like it's like I'm on a downhill bike ride or something, right? And then I start getting like close to the bottom and I just start like coasting,
Hmm.
and then I'm like coasting up the next hill, but then I'm like halfway up the next hill and have to now start pedaling harder than I ever did. Whereas if I just steadily kept the pressure on and maintained, I would have been fine. I wouldn't struggle so much. But now I'm back to being like, oh, what is that? Like all the sort of normal sort of mental shenanigans start up. There's like doubt about my ability to do this, doubt in the like whether or not it's achievable for anyone, let alone me. That kind of stuff where I begin to like mull it over intellectually, right? And what's so fascinating about it is that just a little bit of practice kind of brings me
Hmm.
back in, and then I can see all this crap that my mind is doing around it.
Yeah.
So like I'd say things are good, but I do feel a little bit like down on myself right now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that all too well. The momentum change, the momentum shift.
Yeah, and
Um,
the worst part, Jack, like I want like what I was thinking about it earlier today. I was like, oh, like how lucky I am, to have Jack and to have talk openly because at least we get this like touchstone, right? At
yeah.
least we get this something to like kind of come back to. But there was also like this little part of me that was like, I don't want to be honest about this.
Oh, huh. What is
Right?
that little part?
Like there was just I haven't really explored it a lot, but I think it's because like I want to, if we're going to be having a show, then if I'm holding myself up as a student of Lama Jinpa, a member of Lion's Roar Sangha, if I view my if what I suggest that I'm a Buddhist or say identify as a Buddhist, then like I create a model in my mind,
Yeah.
a stereotype of what that means, right? And then I'm like, oh, I'm falling short of that, right? And so
Yeah.
there's this feeling of like, and it's old school religious, like it's largely my old school religious indoctrination, right? Like, if you didn't do what you were told to do, then you should feel bad and whatever. So I think
Yeah.
there's some of that kind of stuff going on, but at the same time, it's real. Like the sort of the sense is there of like, wanting like seeing myself as somehow like, well, I'm not perfect. I'm not a good, I'm not a great practitioner because, I'm here I go and I lapse for like 4 or 5 days in a row. Like I'm such a bad boy. That
Yeah.
kind of mental self-talk starts up and I'm saying like I can see it.
Yeah.
And so I can recognize it and I can be like, "Hey man, like that's that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
sit down." And as soon as I sit down, I'm like, there, it's better again, right? But it's that building up the practice again, even from just a short absence, I feel like it's a decent amount of work.
Totally. Do you feel like there's some use to that kind of self-talk that's like, oh man, come on, like that kind of I don't know if it's like disappointed in oneself talk. Like is it at all motivating to you?
No, it's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not motivating at
Yeah.
all. It is actually leaning into my habitual way of thinking, right? So for example, we've talked about it quite a lot, over the years, like that I have a healthy streak of nihilism in me,
Yeah.
and that's what begins to sort of show up. And it's my egoic, habitual, conditioned self who is nihilistic, right? And
Hmm.
so then that voice is what actually is showing up. And it's showing up as if it's actually a friend, right? Discussing the merits and the
Yeah.
value of it, whatever. But that monkey mind talking about meditation or thinking about meditation or practice or whatever is not it just sucks energy and it doesn't actually lead to like an actual shift. The shift is some kind of, it's something else. It's not coming from, my brain mind, so to
The
speak, right? It's a
thoughts. Yeah.
it's a real like a clear knowing like, this is right and good for me. I'm gonna do it, but
Yeah.
it doesn't come with a lot of intellectual discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still not quite sure where I land with it, with the kind of self-talk. Like definitely not any kind of self-talk that's like nasty or like blaming or whatever, but sometimes I do feel like I need that reminder of like, hey, bro, like come on, what are you doing? Like this is what really matters to you. Why am I spending so much time on other things? And so maybe that's not so much negative, it's just like, hey, check on your values, check on your motivation.
Okay, so that aspect of it definitely has value. So what you just, I think I'm so glad that you said this because I've actually been reflecting on it a lot. It's when I am thinking of things in terms of goals and particular outcomes, it's not helpful, right? So, Daniel, my goal is to meditate every single day and to have a reliable, dependable
Mm,
meditation practice. That's a goal. So when I fall short of that meeting that goal and this self-talk starts showing up, not at all helpful. But that part, that sort of vigilant mind part that watches and sort of says like, hey, there's a disparity between your actions and your values here,
yeah.
right? Because values they're not goal oriented, right? Values are that's something that we carry for a long time and happens whether things are working out well or not working out well or whatever.
Right,
And
right.
so checking on to that extent when I sort of am like, hey, be honest with yourself here, like on the one hand, you recognize these inherent values. You recognize what actions and behavior are in line with that and which ones are not in line with that.
Mm,
That type of thinking does help. But in order to get to that type of thinking, I have to slow down a little bit.
yeah.
And that's where the practice helps, right? So part of it for me is like, I just need to actually take the physical action, and as soon as I do that, that resistance has been overcome, and then the goodness can start to flow. But if I'm talking to myself instead of performing the action, actually doing it, it's usually not helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, I'd say things are pretty good, right?
Okay,
Overall,
good.
it's just this one area where I'm like, yeah, I don't want to BS about it, right? The truth of the matter is that there's times where um it doesn't seem to be in line with what you actually are doing or wanting to be doing, and that's part of the path. That's part of the practice is learning how to do it even when we are busy or feel like we're too busy to do it, right? There's something else crowding it out because those are usually the times that it's most important to do it.
Yeah. That's the real challenge of lay practice. Um, is yeah, having a regular old life and needing to tend to all of it.
Yeah,
Um, it's really a lot.
it is, but
But it is
Jack,
doable.
not only is it doable, but so the difference between, so when I get rid of the sort of the goal, right, a
Yeah,
particular outcome,
yeah.
right? When I don't do that and I actually just ask myself, right, like honestly, hey, is this stuff improving life? Is it reducing suffering, right? Is it doing what it promised to do? And the
Mm,
answer is like an unequivocal, like yes, 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 beyond a shadow of a doubt. So beneficial to me and everybody I love. It has made me so much less of a nuisance in this world and
mhm.
much more helpful, right? And to that end, I'm like, I'm happy about it. I'm proud of myself for doing it. There's all that kind of uh, goodness that is associated with it. And I know it, which is why that's why it hurts,
Yeah,
right? When I deviate, I'm like, oh, hey, like you're actually moving in a direction of the opposite of what you value here, right?
yeah,
And I can begin to see the mind do its like hit the habitual aspect of it pick up again, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's valuable in that regard, but at the same time, I don't want to come in here and BS about it.
For sure. Yeah. No, thanks for your openness. You're talking openly.
It's hard sometimes.
It is,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, well, and I'm not in a much different space than you. Uh, no vacations, but I have noticed stress in particular being somewhat of a deterrent, or I'm kind of allowing it to be a deterrent. But it's interesting. I haven't really had a period of my practice until recently where I wasn't doing 24 minutes a day. Like I was very consistent. It was pretty rare when I would have anything less than 24 a day. But in the last like month or two, it's been like every other day I'll get like 12 in.
Mhm.
Every once in a while it'll be six,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's really unusual for me.
It is.
And so I'm looking at that and just kind of like, what's what's going on here? What's going
Yeah.
on here, buddy? And I do see like it's, of course, when I look at the grander scale, it's like I am practicing, right? And on a day-to-day basis, I'm living an ethical life. And I am, trying to pay attention um, to my mind um, and my behaviors. But yeah, there's not this same like kind of I don't want to say I don't feel as connected, but I'm just I don't know, I'm not like in it in the way that maybe I have been before. So I'm trying to be gentle with myself,
Yeah.
but also at the same time, like the I know that the urgency, like I'm kind of wanting the urgency to return because I don't have much time.
Yeah.
We don't have much time. And um yeah, I just keep thinking about like the things that have been bothering me, right? The things that I've been so focused on, primarily world events, my relationship, and not even really my job, even though it's changing. My job's just kind of like, I don't know, it's good, it's fine. Um, but yeah, it's like these things that I feel so much pain around. And I'm putting so much energy into like with some like local organizing, which is great. I'm glad that I'm doing it. But I also need to check and see again, like what's the motivation? Um, like what am I actually doing this for? Um, and so that's good. It's like I am checking in with that. But yeah, I'm just kind of wondering, like, does it really matter for me to do all this organizing? Like, would it be better for me to put that much energy towards my spiritual practice? And I know that maybe they don't need to be separate. And I'm very much am involved in activism for, kind of spiritual reasons. And because I care about people, I want a better world. I do think that, you know, s- some kind of social change is absolutely necessary for more people to be able to access Dharma and a life that's possible to practice. Um, but yeah, sometimes it does just feel kind of like, fuck, like what?
Well,
Where should I put my focus?
right,
Um,
because there is this sense of like where does the desire to make samsara comfortable
right.
and good for us, easy and non-suffering, like that's delusional on the
Hmm.
one hand, right? On the other hand, being disengaged not part of the world, not actively, expressing your Buddha nature, your compassion, your love, your kindness, and, not really allowing your bodhicitta to emerge in an actionable way like Tara would, right? Like not doing that is clearly also not that's
Yeah,
also that's not an option. Non-action is not an
right,
option either.
right.
And it's kind of weird to me because even though we're all on the same path, we're walking it quite differently,
Quite differently,
right?
yeah. Yeah.
And they're in some places, like I don't that it is one thing where I'm like there's some part of me that thinks like that the actions of the practitioners, the followers should be like I am expecting some kind of uniformity there. Like, oh, well, of course,
Yeah,
Jack would be like a Daniel or just like a Matthew or just like a so-and-so or just like but that's not true. The
yeah,
way that all of this expresses itself through you and the way you walk this path is terribly personal to only you,
yeah.
right? And this activism part of you is an unshakable, core, important
Yeah.
part of who and what you are.
That's a great reminder. Thank you. I feel lighter. That is so true. Um, yeah, because I was kind of reminding myself recently, like, hey, like this action energy is a part of you. It's been there, like that's part of my karmic whatever, is that I have that kind of interest and drive. So it's okay. It's okay. I think it's probably just that really critical part of me that's like, you know, you were kind of mentioning too, like if I'm not living up to a certain, made up thing in my head, then I'm not doing it right.
Yeah, yeah. See,
Yeah.
okay, look, that's an interesting sort of friction point, right? Where spontaneous, compassionate action is like, for lack of a better word, maybe like a better way of describing it, maybe like a function of Rigpa, right? That would be your wise action, right? That would like, that an active component that is part of our practice and part of what we're trying to get at. What's the whole point in working with all these energies and stuff if not to use it in a skillful way? And
Right.
the problem is that all that conditioning that Jack is fights against this and is for this and is against that and all of that. A lot of that is your egoic construction, right?
Mhm.
So what is not that, right? Like what is the actual like I have
Right, right, right.
what is Jack's spirit calling out for? I don't know how to better way
Yeah,
to say
yeah,
it,
yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. Yeah. The spontaneous. Well, it is it like when I feel that kind of spontaneous, it is compassion. It's like,
but it doesn't come with a lot of intellect. And it's not that nothing wrong with
right,
using intellect,
right.
right?
No, no, that's what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
like I'll feel like this strong like drive that is compassion to be like, this has to change. That's kind of the feeling. Yeah, yeah,
And not just that it has to change, but the situation is calling upon you to act as a catalyst for that change.
sure. Yeah,
Right? Like it's not just that the situation must change, but like at some point you are being called to action, right?
yeah,
But it's
yeah.
not a lot of like, well, I'm calculating here that if I join this group and we use our
Right.
resources like this, maybe some of that, right? But
Mhm.
like probably more likely than not, it's more like, acting because you see suffering and you immediately act to resolve it. The same way if you saw a dog that was like hurt on the side of the street or something, you'd probably stop and
Mhm.
attempt to try to do something for it, right? You're not thinking too much about it. You're just engaging, and
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
that's a hard
There is,
that's a,
it's
that's a hard
interesting.
balancing act.
Well, and just like anything, whether Dharma practice or organizing, like there's the spontaneous element to it, and
Yeah,
then there's like the disciplined, planned, like, okay, we're doing the boring stuff, right? We're like doing the background behind the scenes things that, allow for the spontaneous kind of like compassion and connection to arise.
that's
So
right. That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
the structure of working out at the gym, so like it's like that. Like we have there's like guides, there's the space for it, there's the teachers of it, there's all these support mechanisms, right, that are related to it, to and getting your fitness to a certain level, right? So your spiritual, mental, psychological, whatever fitness to a certain level so that you can do something with it,
Right.
right? So
Right.
like that's what I think is so cool about it, is that call to action, right? Yes, it's natural, and yes, it's good. And the more that you practice your heart muscle, and and you can see more clearly, the better you are at being that. I remember this guy, Noah something or other. He does the secular Buddhist podcast.
Mm.
And I listened to him for years and thought he was fantastic. And at the beginning of his show, I remember he always says, he says, "I'm not here to, convert you to Buddhism or anything like that. My only desire is to help you be a better whatever you are."
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
And I love that. That's what Dharma practice does. It
Yeah.
allows people to be what they are, like, but their highest and best, most authentic, most genuine that. The
Right.
best
Yeah.
Jack is the best activist.
Yeah, no, I think that's such yeah, yeah. That did come to mind recently. It's like, no, these are gifts, right? These are the things, these are the tools. These are like the whatever, like the implements or
I have to tell you what I told Lama. I may have mentioned this before, but
yeah,
I'll say
yeah.
it again. I can't help but think that it's a lot like X-Men, like, so in X-Men, there's the professor, right? And then what is it that happens? There's all these mutant kids out there who have all these powers, but they're hurting themselves and they're hurting other people,
Yeah.
right? Because they don't know how to use those powers, and they have all these strong emotions, and the world doesn't understand them, and it's all chaotic. And then, they get to the professor, and the professor's like, "Hey, dude, chill, chill. You're not bad. You just need to use it's a gift, this thing that you have. Let's use it in an intelligent way, right?" And I
Yeah.
I remember telling Lama I thought he was like Professor X.
He is. Yeah, absolutely. That's
A bunch of
awesome.
bunch of misfit mutant kids who don't know what they're
Uh-huh.
doing out here, hurting each other and hurting other people, being a complete and utter nuisance. And then they are like, oh, this thing that I've been running from is actually like my superpower. Wow.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Can I tell you something funny that just
Sure.
popped in my head because you're talking about sci-fi? I have had a little kind of I don't know, little breadcrumbs that of synchronicity that have been interesting recently, that feel like, okay, maybe I am, like my mind is still working on, a certain plane or whatever, but it totally random, like unimportant stuff. But a couple nights ago, I was sitting in meditation and randomly started thinking about Lord of the Rings. And it's been maybe, I don't know, a long time since I've thought about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
But I had a specific quote in my head about like a scene in the Fellowship of the Ring where they're like in the mines of Moria. Anyways, I was very much a Lord of the Rings nerd when I was a but um so then I finished up my meditation, go and do a couple things, and then I checked my phone. My sister texted me like 20 minutes before during my meditation, and she literally said, "Why do I always have this quote in my head?" And it was a quote from like very soon after the scene that I was thinking about. And I was just like, no, that's weird. That's no, like you sent this to me while I was thinking about it in meditation. That's weird. It was just so cool. Another really weird one where I had a dream that a friend and I were walking around this like Danish themed town, like Solving or something.
Thing. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And I texted him about it and he was like, what's really weird is that I've been playing a Danish themed video game.
yeah.
Like, okay, totally unimportant, but also
Right?
like weird little. connections. It's fun.
I love that kind of stuff because in many cases, like, so you telling the story to somebody else, it's easy for somebody else to be like, that's just coincidence and it's just whatever, and you noticed it because of whatever. But at the same time, when you experience it yourself, right, there is this sort of like, oh, things are not so one to one. Like,
Yeah,
yes, there's like cause and effect, but it's operating in ways that sometimes I can't perceive, right?
totally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure, without a doubt. I love that kind of stuff. I love
I
those kinds
know.
of, what do they call them? There's a word for it.
Not synchronicities
Yeah,
or
synchronicities.
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love
It's
synchronicities.
really fun.
They
Yeah.
sort of indicate that maybe like, well, whatever. Let's not go there.
You're on to something, maybe.
Maybe,
That's
maybe.
what it
I
indicates.
think so. I think so. Pay attention. Pay
Pay
attention.
attention.
Yeah.
Sweet. Well, thanks for letting me share that. That was
That
fun.
was fun. I love it. I love it.
Should we do some mind training?
Not today.
Oh,
No, I'm
I'll
kind of
just drink
over
my
it.
bubbly water.
Just
Oh, you
kidding.
know what? Oh, never mind. My bubbly water is grapefruit, but I realized that I'm technically not supposed to eat grapefruit because of my
Wait.
meditation. But anyways,
Oh,
I think
oh,
I'm okay.
grapefruit is one of those ones that you're really not supposed to be doing on certain days.
Yeah. It does say natural flavors, but there's no juice.
Oh,
Hopefully I'm
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's so hard to get real grapefruit, most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, let's see if I can do this Zoom thing
yeah.
here.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been a while, right? It's like we're a little rusty.
I'm a little bit rusty.
That's all
All right,
right.
here we go. Can you see my screen?
I can see it. Yep.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. 22. You are proficient if you can practice, even when distracted. Okay, John and Control writes, a skilled horseman does not fall from his horse, even when he is distracted. In the same way, if you are able to take adverse conditions that suddenly develop as aids to mind training, even without expressly directing your attention to do so, then you are proficient in mind training. The two bodhicittas arise clearly and effortlessly along with everything that appears enemies, friends, troublemakers, happiness, or suffering. Translated by Ken MacLeod.
Have you ever seen a Mongolian archer, horseback archer?
I feel like I have. Yeah.
It is really something. You can kind of see how they, conquered all of Asia, right? In back in the day because they're the horse is like running at just full, all out, right? Which is pretty rough. But the body of the rider who's holding on just with their legs,
Oh, yeah.
they got bows and arrows and they
Oh,
are
wow.
shooting and hitting their mark while riding the horse at full gallop and not holding on with their hand.
Oh, my gosh.
It's insane. And in some cases, they're like leaning off like the side of the horse and they're still just using their thighs to like hold on to the horse somehow. Yeah, I don't
Whoa.
know. It's absolutely amazing. And I think like that's what came to my mind, about a skilled horseman not falling even when distracted. Like
That's
that's how
incredible.
I want to be.
I just looked it up. Yeah, that's amazing. How cool.
Super
Yeah,
cool.
that is what we're training to do.
You know what's weird is I think I'm in kindergarten
Yeah.
when it comes to this particular skill because I do notice that I try to bring adverse conditions in as aids to my mind training, and in
Okay.
many cases I can do it successfully, right? But it doesn't happen clearly and effortlessly, right? Like I could get on the horse and I can hold a bow and arrow and you know what I mean, but I'm not like that proficient yet where it all just like automatically kind of happens. I have to
Yeah,
intentionally take a troublemaking thing, bring it in, and then I have to like go through all kinds of mental shenanigans to finally get into my heart and finally settle down and finally get a little bit of insight into what's going on.
for sure. I'd say that's where I'm at too.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's kindergarten level. That's, maybe like third grade. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll let
Yeah.
Llama decide that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
I don't know, it is a hard practice. Like that's a skill that, I work with people on in therapy and it's tough, right? To just for one, even recognize that the mind is unstable, right? And that there's something that caused a disturbance, or that, your mind was
Mhm.
disturbed by. Um, and so so much of the practice is like just becoming aware, right?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. In fact, as far as, our the discussion matter for our show, I mean, I think that's a big part of it, right? Is that when we're stressed out due to change, a big, huge, big important thing, one of the most important things is to have some awareness of what's happening,
Mm, mm.
internally and externally.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
I
great.
think that one of the biggest problems for me here in taking adverse conditions as aids is that because I have an avoidant sort of personality type,
Hmm.
I try to use instead of turning them into like aids, and I instead try to like use the practice to like solve I don't know how to describe it, but
It's like
like
the opposite.
the
Yeah,
opposite of that. Like
yeah,
I'm trying to like make the problem go away somehow or whatever, like
totally.
instead of actually doing what's being suggested, which is to turn attention to and be aware of, right? But instead I'm actually trying to like force something. I want a
Yeah,
particular outcome.
right, right. Yeah, that kind of sounds like bringing the Dharma to your life instead of bringing your life to the Dharma, as Lama
Bingo,
is. Yeah,
bingo,
yeah,
bingo.
I
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
exactly that. How does Lama say? I'm pouring the tea onto the sugar or something. Instead instead of taking a little bit of sugar and putting it in the tea. I don't remember how.
That's really funny. Nice. Oh, cool.
All
The
righty.
Dharma and
Yeah,
consort.
lovely, lovely. Looks good.
Maybe all of us should get over to the Cleveland Museum of Art someday
Mm.
and see all these things and liberate them and take them back to Tibet. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
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 Good idea. And
I'll
while
leave
we're at
that.
it, hey, you know what? While we're dreaming, let's liberate Tibet too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We did the same thing as last time. This is why we had to
The
have two
same thing.
shows.
We're stressed.
We gotta talk through our stress, man. I was thinking about it earlier. I was like, there's all kinds of things to be said because Buddhism is largely about dealing with stress, right? And so, I was thinking though, like how we can, when we think about taking refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and how that taking refuge helps with the stressors, right? So I was thinking about like how the practice, for example, like shamatha training, where we are able to concentrate, right? And we're able to kind of calm the body, still the mind a bit, and turn inward, instead of our normal outward sort of fixation. Like that feels to me like, part of the taking refuge in the Buddha. I've noticed myself that when I like not as a way to remove stress, but when I'm stressed and I study Dharma, so read or listen to, like listen to Dharma talks or read some, any kind of Dharma literature. I while I'm engaged in the study, I feel good, and when I'm done, I feel better, right? Then there's some of them more than others, right? But like there's different words of advice for different occasions, but. I think that something that we don't oftentimes talk about. There's all these meditation practices, Tonglen, Shamatha, whatever, but also listen to the Dharma, study
Yeah.
like literally study the Dharma, right? And in that, like what, at least in my own experience, what I notice is if I listen to a little bit of teaching, right? While I'm there, I'm at peace, right? So if
Mm,
I'm listening to a Dharma talk, I totally at peace. There's not any trouble there, right? And it carries on just like meditating, how that peacefulness, that calmness kind of carries forward beyond the actual session. It happens the same way when reading or listening to Dharma talks, right? And then the last one is Sangha, right? Like how helpful it is. We're not alone, right? So
mm.
much of the practice is remembering we're not alone. right? And that we share this condition, this stressed out condition with so many other beings, right? In fact, that's what gives rise to bodhicitta and our desire to liberate because we know it so well ourselves,
Yeah.
right? But I
Yeah.
was like, it's kind of neat how you could take you can kind of see the umbrella, right? The refuge umbrella that's provided by all of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and yeah, the encouragement from our teachers, like, listening to the Dharma, listening to our teachers, taking refuge in our guru and the Buddhas. Um, gosh, that like it's not the same feeling that I would get when I would like, I don't know, come to Jesus again or something when I was a kid. That was kind of I don't know, it was like kind of intense and um I can't even really describe it. I'd have to think about it for a while. But it's different in that like taking refuge in my teacher is this, living, breathing and person who knows me so well. How fantastically, lucky I am, fortunate I am. And that immediately, like even just thinking about that right now, it's like my stress level comes down. It's like my life is incredible. Like that I have this opportunity. And so anything that's happening that's, causing stress, pales in comparison to the incredible opportunity I have, to be with my teachers. And yeah, to be in a time when these teachings are, not only in the world, but translated and, and shared in ways that I can really understand, or start to understand. Um, yeah, yeah.
I think it's neat. I was thinking about how when I think of our teacher, when I actually, feel that devotion, right, and take refuge, it's interesting the way in which I notice my mind goes back to like like I'll recall experiences with him,
Hmm.
right? And so it's what I was going to say about that. So like I'll recall like the way that I felt at a darshan or giving him a hug or something like that, right? And I'll just like I'll kind of feel that and I can recall it and that comes into the experience, right? And it makes so it's really embodied and I can feel it. And it makes me think that that's why it's so critical to be engaged in study and practice before you get really stressed out, right? So even when you're not stressed out, in fact, when you're not is a really good time, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's no
yeah,
bad time to be practicing, but that you kind of don't want to wait until the very last second when all hell is pouring down on you to then
yeah,
be like, oh, maybe now I should read some, Buddhist something, or I should
yeah,
listen to a Dharma talk, or I should meditate, right? It's not that it's too late, it's just that you would have been better served if
yeah.
you had more familiarity, if you
Well,
had
that was our
already,
Lojong.
that's
That was
it.
our Lojong
That's
slogan.
right. That's
Yeah.
it. Exactly.
If we're
Good
kind of
point.
consistent and
Right.
diligent and doing that daily practice, we're going to be able to to practice when
Right.
distracted and
Practice with the baby stressors,
baby
right?
stressors. Yeah,
Yeah.
having a little
The
pain in the
manageable.
knee or like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
kind of the dishes aren't done, like these are
You consumed a little bit too much of the news media, now you're
right.
stressed out. Okay, good. That's perfect to practice with.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I love this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like prevention, right? In the medical field and mental health, there is a lot about prevention now. It
Yeah.
didn't always used to be in our, modern Western medicine, but now we're seeing that like, oh, prevention really is, so important. And so
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
I was
same with
talking
the Dharma practice. Yeah.
I was talking to my friend in Fort Bragg. He said he's suffered from migraines his whole life, ever since he was a little kid, right? And so we were, he was like, hey, he knows I'm into AI stuff. And he was like, hey, show me how you might use that for learning about, treating migraines better or something like that. And so the discussion, we went off, we did a big deep research AI dive into migraines and modern methods for dealing with it. And what I loved was that the response came back and it was like, well, this basically breaks down into two major components. One of them is what to do when you're hurting with a migraine. And the other one
Mhm.
is how do you prevent migraines from arriving in the first place, right?
Yeah,
And so
yeah,
there, like, and that's the same thing we're doing here, right? There are some things you could do in the moment when you're hurting, right? You can do some shamatha right then and there. You can
right.
abide in a little bit of calm and it will be helpful to you right then, right there.
Yeah.
And right. So that's good. That's cool. But there's also preventative things you could do, right? And those like take more planning and thinking ahead, and you have to do it for your future self because it's not reactionary, right? You're
Right,
all it's proactive. You're thinking ahead and you're looking at, what can I do to make sure that this doesn't happen and so that I can handle it when the time comes. That's what the training is all about. You keep training and training and training and training so that when the moment arrives, you're like, hey, I'm gonna apply just exactly like our slogan said. Exactly.
right, right. I know Lama talks about his experience with martial arts and how his, training over and over really supported him when he needed it, right? Being held at gunpoint.
Yeah.
And I think about how much my partner practices martial arts and has never had to use it,
Oh,
right?
no.
But thank goodness that he's, going to have that skills if that shows up. And it's the same thing, that kind of diligence and yeah, like knowing that that's your fallback, I think is a really good thing. Like to think of it in the same way the Dharma practice as like, oh, I'm getting really strong. I'm getting like very,
Yeah.
I'm getting fit. I'm getting lithe, like I can move about in these difficult situations with a lot of grace and deftness, and strength. And so I think that's really helpful to think of it in
It
that way.
is, but Jack, you just pointed at something else that I think is really interesting in the metaphor of like the medicine, for example, right? So I was thinking about how your partner does, studies martial arts and has for a long time and is good at it and has never had to use it. But in many cases, the very training itself prevented having to use it. That's I remember in Aikido, the teacher being like, if you have to actually use these moves, you probably missed the training.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know, like, yes, you're going to
Yeah.
learn all these forms and you're going to learn how to kick ass and you're going to learn all these things, sure. But you're never going to do it because the whole point is to prevent it from happening. Same with the preventative migraine stuff. Same, like that we do things and it'll make our lives easier. But here's the problem is because we don't like those things are no longer happening. We're like, well, I'm
Mm.
healed.
I don't have to do anything
I don't have to do it. I'm
anymore.
good now. I'm good. I don't need Buddha Dharma Sangha. I don't need to continue learning martial arts. I'm good, man.
Then the next migraine hits.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah, it's brutal. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I have been noticing how stress lately, how it has been affecting me more and likely because of, my like minimizing my practice a little bit. But my fuse is much shorter. Like I notice, days when I have like a really busy day at work, maybe I've got like a meeting or something in the evening, right? Like thinking about like preparing food, I'm just like so tense. I'm just like, oh my, like I can't do this. Um, and so some of that is just like, well, genuinely, I need to relax. I need to find some time in my day to like slow down. But yeah, I know that I've had times in my life where I have been that busy, but I've been very, very diligent. And things move a lot smoother. Um, so
Yeah, our capacity increases,
yes.
right? But the problem, that's exactly it, is that as our capacity increases and things get easier, some people, such as myself, are like, "Ooh, it's easier,
I
right?
don't
I
use
don't have,
that.
it's coasting downhill on a bike is easy. I can stop pedaling."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
That's exactly the little like little logical loophole or whatever that I find myself sometimes getting into where I'm like, "Ah, man, I'm damn near enlightened already. Like, wow, things are so good and they're so easy and look at all my capacity to do all these things. Oh, it's so fantastic. I did it all by myself."
yeah. Right?
Just
Yeah.
because of I'm so good, like it's this freaking ego is such a like trickster, right? Takes everything and claims it as its own.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's so in the way, right? It really is what's causing all the stress.
Why is it okay? I was thinking about this earlier, and there's a little mildly off topic, but how is it that how is it that we can like convince ourselves to of this of the wrongness, right? So on the one hand, you see the clarity, right? You can see the truth. You can see everything the Buddha said. You're like, yep, 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 yep. This is the way out. This ego is the source of all the problem. You can even see the ego illuminated. You're like, yeah, look at that. There's my crazy mind doing its thing. And here is this, deathless, whatever beautiful state. Okay, all that. And you can still be a complete and utter mess.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Yeah, it is so
Like
interesting.
how delusional like we could see the truth. That's what
Yeah.
I find so frustrating, right? I'm like, "Hey, look at that. It's all laid out. It clearly works. It's clearly truth, right? Like obvious beyond a shadow of a doubt for me. If it was beyond a shadow of a doubt, wouldn't it naturally compel me to,
Right?
right? What does this mean, Jack?
Yeah, it's yeah, that's a meditation in itself, huh? Yeah.
You're not going to give me the answer?
I don't know it.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about, very much so. Yes, I can at least commiserate with you.
Okay, thank you, thank you. 'Cause it is a little bit frustrating, like to see it so clearly that way and
Yeah,
still have wrong view,
yeah.
right?
Oh my God.
How can I see right view and wrong view at the exact same time, right? How can I see right view and pursue wrong view?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm learning it that one too.
Yeah,
I know for me, it's like like we were talking about earlier, this kind of first step of awareness, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, just like, am I aware of what I'm doing? And the sneakier part, my motivation.
It turns
Oh,
out, Jack, even though, I didn't realize that spiritual materialism was still a trap for me, it turns out that it still very much is, right? Because
yeah.
I do want Dharma to make samsara nice.
Me too. Yeah,
You know what I mean? I want it comfy and I want it fun and sensual and pleasurable. And
right.
I want it to be peaceful and enjoyable, all the good things, right?
Yeah, only
Yeah.
the good things.
I want it to be permanent.
Uh-huh. Right. Yeah, I want that Dharma bliss and only that.
Yeah. Yeah. And somehow still pretty, like there are these little moments, little hints, right? They're so tantalizing, right? These little glimpses that like I'm on the right track. I feel like a bloodhound or something,
Right.
who's like, I'm on the right, I know I'm on the right track, but like I kind of get off a little bit and then it's, like eventually I get back on the trail, but I feel like I never quite catch my prize.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. What would that even be?
I don't know, Jack. I
Yeah.
don't that I know. I know. That's right. Is the prize Buddhahood? Is that, is that no, I don't think so. Not for me personally, right?
Mhm.
Like Trungpa says, the enlightenment is the ego's greatest disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I remember one time during a refuge ceremony, Lama was joking about giving things away, like a little, bracelet or something, right? And he was like, I think that it was something he was like, I think that it's nice to give little, mementos or something because otherwise, what are we gonna do? Like you get impermanence, you get impermanence, you get emptiness, you get emptiness, everybody gets emptiness,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Like that's
yeah.
what you actually get is emptiness, right? But nobody like wants to get emptiness in a bag.
Yeah, no, no, you want a little bracelet.
Something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really cute.
it is. I love the one that's one thing I really appreciate about our teacher is he definitely is bringing Dharma to the West in the sense of like making it so that it fits culturally and in a way that we can understand it and apply it. And also so incredibly direct about the reality of these experiences, right? The reality of the practices and what can be accomplished, what is accomplished, what cannot, all of that. He's the most real, truthful person that I've ever met.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got a lot going on, and he's definitely not reacting to stress in the way that I do.
You get- So there is some confidence that it is possible,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
and if
And
we,
that's the thing is that I don't think it's that he's like not stressed, you know? He's
oh,
got a lot to be stressed about, but he's just he knows how to work with it.
and he's got a lot higher because he knows how to work with it. His capacity for it all is much, much higher,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, what's nice about it is he's a human being. I'm a human
Right.
being, and so are you. So it's within the realm of possibility for us at least to achieve the level of Buddhahood we see in our own teacher.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is just very realistic, you know, to say that. It's just true. Yeah, I see little ways that it's his wisdom is mirrored in me, not anywhere to this anywhere close to the same level, but there's just like, oh yeah, that's there. That's Buddha nature, you know?
Coming
Um,
from this side of the screen, Jack, I can say that I can also see him mirrored in you.
oh, thanks. Yeah. Oh, same to you. That's so fun. It's really sweet, huh?
That's actually my favorite. One of my favoriteest things is that even if I can't be uh, close to him all the time, by being involved with the Sangha and being involved with his other students, I see him all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I hear him, I see him all the time,
Yeah.
right? Like right there, little mirror right there in Jack. Hi,
Mhm.
Lama. I see you.
That's really fun. Yeah. Oh, good. Thanks to everyone who's, got their own mirrors in them as well. Thank you for being here. Your Bodhicitta, keep it shining.
Keep it
Yes.
shining. Keep it shining. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Daniel. For folks listening, we'll see you next week. If you can make a donation at lionsroaddharmacenter.org, we'd very much appreciate it. Otherwise, take care.